NYSE Euronext Deutsche Boerse combination will need to be approved by regulators on both sides of the Atlantic. Our chief Washington correspondent, Peter Cook, spoke with one key lawmaker who's reserving judgment on the deal for now. Peter, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mark. I caught up with New York Senator Chuck Schumer. He's in the middle of the budget battle here on Capitol Hill, but I got a few moments of his time for his take on this combination between the New York Stock Exchange, Euronext, and Deutsche Boerse. As you said, he's reserving judgment for now. He's worried about the name and the impact this could have on New York as the financial capital of the world.
I think it's a pretty good deal in a lot of ways. I think it does. Globalization is the way we're going in these markets. Deutsche Boerse, very good in Europe in derivatives. New York, the leader in equities in America. And the combination is a good thing. It will create more competition. It will help New York in a lot of ways. I was glad to see that Duncan Niederauer is the CEO. So I think this is the way of the future, and overall there are a lot of good things about this deal, no question about it. I think that the one concern I have is the name. People say, what's in a name? Well, first, it signifies New York as the financial center, something I've always believed in. Second, it's good for the company. Anyone you talk to knows that the NYSE brand is much greater than the Deutsche Boerse brand. So an effort by Deutsche Boerse to subvert the New York Stock Exchange name wouldn't be good for the company. But third, it's an indication. We all know there are going to be all kinds of managerial decisions down the road. And this is portrayed as a merger of equals. If it is a merger of equals doing good for the company, doing what's good for the company, then NYSE will be the first name. If not, it's an indication that other decisions may be made not on the merits but on politics, and so I would have some worries if they didn't name the name that way. I've talked to the NYSE, and they believe it should be NYSE DB2.
But you've received no assurances that at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen?
The only assurance I've received is that this is still going to be debated. They put it aside because they couldn't resolve it, and they have agreed that it won't be DB NYSE, that's for sure, and that's how they had originally thought about it. But I think, again, for the good of the company, for the good of New York, and for an indication that this is a true merger and an on-the-merits deal, NYSE should be first.
To be clear, if you're not satisfied with the name, is there something you can do to stand in the way of this?
Well, obviously, this kind of merger, which is a little touchy in certain ways, needs broad support in America, both among the regulators and the Congress and with the public. But I'm waiting and seeing. I want to see what will come out with the name before I take a position. Having said that, there are a lot of good things in this proposal.
Let me ask you quickly about the other big issue right here in Washington, the big issue, and that is spending. The president's budget plan coming out, the House getting set to vote on cutting spending this year, this fiscal year. Are we headed for a government shutdown?
Well, I hope we're not headed for a government shutdown, and to a person, every Democrat doesn't want it. Unfortunately, some of the Republican leaders have refused to take it off the table, and some people have talked about it, some on the Republican side. You cannot say, if I don't get my whole way, I'm shutting the government down. That does danger. It's playing with fire. It does danger to the many people who depend on the government, Social Security checks, veterans, the military. It also risks, losing confidence in the bond markets. People can play with fire on the budget. They can then play fire with the debt ceiling, and that's a real problem. So I would urge both sides to just take government shutdown off the table, sit down and negotiate. We're not going to get everything we want. They're not going to get everything they want, but to an agreement that significantly cuts the budget.
Just finally, just where Senate Democrats are versus the House Republicans, it looks like you all are light years apart at this point. There isn't a lot of confidence out there, particularly in the markets, that you guys are going to reach that deal.
Well, I think we're going to have to reach the deal, and the president may have to step in and do it. But the bottom line is very simple, and that is that most Democrats certainly believe that the president's freeze is the place to start off from. I think it's a good proposal. I support it thoroughly. Some might go further. Many would endorse it, as I do. And that doesn't mean you agree with every single part of it, but it means it's a good budget. You don't just cut everything across the board. As the president has said, some places need increases in spending, education, infrastructure, basic science. Some places need lots of cuts, and that's a much smarter way to do it than to just take a meat axe and cut everything by 15%.